Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. My name is Josh and I run the GPU Abuse channel. Today I wanted to share with you guys the method I use currently for sharpening my knives. I like keeping all my Balisong sharp. I feel that flipping a sharp knife is more enjoyable because that risk factor is there that, you could potentially get cut. I know that might sound weird, but, risky behavior is sometimes fun, playing with fire. You know what I'm saying. So I wanted to share with you guys how I keep my knives sharp. Alright, so I switched camera angles here. Basically, what I have here is the Lansky Sharpening System. I purchased it as a kit, so it came with a few of their stones here. Some of these stones are what the Lansky came with in a kit. I know they sell multiple different kits that have different stones, but this is the only one that didn't come with the kit, and it's a extra coarse diamond, and this one I don't use very often. I use this one to do some serious blade repair. There's chips or something around those lines where it's in very, very rough shape, because this diamond stone will take off a lot of material from your blade. Now this one I also don't use very often, but it's made for serrated blades, a little bit different of a material, almost rubbery feeling. And here is a coarse stone, 120 grit. This is another one that I really don't use all that often, just because I'm not trying to take off a ton of material from my blades. A lot of my blades don't need repaired, but this would also take off a fair amount of material. These two are the ones that get the most usage. This one here, which is a medium stone, I believe the 280 shows the grit level. I could be wrong, because this actually feels a lot smoother. But you can see that this one does get quite a bit of usage. And finally, the one that I use most often, and this is their fine stone, which if the number indicates the grit, 600, but it feels a little bit smoother than a 600, so I don't know. Maybe their stone grits are different than others, but yeah, this is definitely the one I use the most. Now normally they come with the rod separate. They're separated, so you get the rod and you get the stone, and basically what you're supposed to do is put the rod through the hole on the bottom, you lay it on a flat surface, you tighten this little wing nut, and you pretty much bend the rod until it's completely flat with the surface. And sometimes it takes a little bit, but you shouldn't have to bend it a lot. You just do your best to make it nice and flat, and then once it's flat, it's ready to use. Make sure it's nice and tight, because I'll show you why a little bit later. Then we have this piece here. Basically, the way I use it, which again, I say this with all my videos, I might not have the best method, but I'm doing what works for me. You have this red screw here, which I use to control this angle. And then they have another screw here, which tightens the grip. So what I mean by that is I have a knife right here. It's the Ham Chimera. You guys know I absolutely love this knife. Basically what I do is I put it in there and I put tape over this. This is just a little bit of masking tape so it don't scratch my blade. Basically what I do is I put this in there and I line it up right where the angle starts. So probably right about there, and I go down a little bit, so it's not right where the angle starts. You bring it there and then you pull it back a little bit. That's usually how I figure out the angle. I try to angle this similar to the grind of the blade. So basically I get this where I want it, and then I find a spot that works for me, and I tighten this up. It's hard doing this backwards. I tighten this up just enough to where I can make proper adjustments. So right about there is where I use it, and then I tighten it really, really good. And I'll be honest with you guys, this screw really, really sucks. It strips out incredibly easy. It's a horrible screw. But you do want to tighten it as much as possible, because, let me grab a stone here. What you're gonna do to sharpen this is you're gonna flip it around like this. You stick it in the proper hole. So they have different angles here, and I'll go ahead and read them off to you. So this is a 30-degree angle. This is a 25-degree angle. This is a 20-degree angle. And last, this is a 17, which, I mean, dang, if you're doing a 17, then with a knife like this, you're gonna be there for a while. I typically use the 25, and to be honest, this probably isn't accurate, like, at all. A lot of times I don't try to worry about the angle, I just worry about what works. When I make contact with the blade, I like making sure that it's sitting nice and flat with the edge. So I'm only taking material off of the absolute cutting edge. So really you just gotta try to predict which angle works for you. Now I do have a whetstone coming on Monday or Tuesday. That's a little bit more accurate in my opinion, because you control the edge. So basically what I do is my knives typically have a pretty decent edge already, so I'm not going to try to take too much material off. This method is not the suggested way that Lansky tells you. They tell you to do the exact opposite of this, and I don't agree with that. So I use the 25, and basically what I do is I start from the tip and I go in this direction, so from bottom to top. So Lansky tells you to do the opposite and go upwards. I don't agree with that. I very, very lightly, I'm not putting any pressure down. I just go down like that. So that would be my second stroke. I tried to do perfect strokes on each side. Obviously you can lose count pretty easy if you're me, but another method you can use is to draw with a marker on the edge, draw with a black marker, and then that way you know you're taking the same material off regardless of what side it is. But I just try to keep count. So this would be 3, I believe, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, I'm doing 10 strokes because honestly this knife doesn't need that much of sharpening, and basically you do the exact opposite with the other side. So you make sure that you're using the same angle, and I do the same exact opposite. I go 1 and just let it roll off the edge. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, you kind of just have to judge how many swipes you want to do, what stone you want to use, depending on how bad your blade is. Like, if you damaged it, it's going to take you a minute to repair. But this is typically what I do with an edge that just needs a little bit of work. The reason you want to tighten it so much is so the blade doesn't wiggle around in there. I found that if you don't have it really, really tight, it's going to wobble around. This is definitely not the most luxurious sharpening system. I would always suggest learning how to use a stone. That's basically where I start. I loosen it up, And yeah, you guys can see I put a little bit of tape down just so it doesn't scratch the hell out of my knife. And you want to make sure that you're using, well, how do I explain this? So when you put it in there, you want to make sure that when you angle it, that you're not letting it scratch the side of your knife. So say I have this clamped in there, right? And I don't set the appropriate angle. Say I'm at too much of a slope, you can actually scratch the side of your blade and not even hit the edge if you're not careful. So you can actually like grind away at the side here, and that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to get just the edge. Let's see if I can shave with it right now. Yeah, I can. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's hairs. There's hairs on there. I'm a little bit sweaty, so it's like sticking a little bit. There's some nasty ass arm hair for you. Now, what I do after this is I usually follow it up with my leather strop. I did a review on this on my last video. Basically, I already have it all loaded up and ready to rock with the green compound. And I already shared this with you guys, but I'll do it again for the sake of, you know, being consistent with how I sharpen my knives. I got it down like this, and I just do it like this motion right here. Again, I'm not using a lot of pressure. And this is what's really gonna make that edge very sharp. Basically, it removes all of the burrs from when you sharpen, because when you sharpen, it actually develops a burr on the side. Very, very little pressure. And that is what's gonna make that blade really, really sharp. You wanna make sure that you do it like this, because if you go the other way, you're gonna cut into your leather. When I use this, I'm very lightly putting pressure down, and I'm being cautious on getting the entire blade. And then again, you can do the other side. I noticed going this direction is a lot easier than doing it backwards, just because you can see what's going on. But yeah, that got it really sharp. And then you can follow it up on this side, which is not loaded with anything. Something like that. And now I got that real sharp edge. Again, I'm really sweaty, so the knife is kind of sticking to me, but little to no pressure. See that difference from just sharpening it then stropping it? Stropping it gives it that crazy edge. I mean, my hair's just plopping off. Look at all this. I don't think you guys can see that, but I literally took off a lot of hair. And that's what I really love about stropping. I feel like stropping is like the most important part. Hair's just falling off my blade. Let me see if I can do a little paper demo for you guys. Just like that. So yeah, this method tends to work really good. So yeah, that is just the method that works for me. Let me see here. Let me check how much something like this costs. All right, so you can buy a full kit of the Lansky system. You can buy their deluxe kit for $39.99. I'm sure you can find it other places a lot cheaper, because it's really not a luxurious sharpening experience. Something else that I would recommend if you really are into getting your knife super sharp, obviously whetstones is a fantastic idea. You can pick up those for pretty cheap too, less than $50. or the more expensive ones that run you 80 or above. Another company is KME, and they run about $200 for their really nice system, which is a lot better than the Lansky, just because it's very precision. That just doesn't even sound right. It's very precise. Let's just put it that way. And then another option would be the Wicked Edge, which runs $300. The Wicked Edge Go is their cheapest model that runs about $250. So those are a few options that you have: Lansky, Whetstones, KME, and finally Wicked Edge. It all depends on what you're looking for, really, and how much time you want to spend on your knife. You've seen that didn't really take me all that much, but my edge was also not that bad prior to this video. So with all that being said, I can recommend it, but you got to be careful with what you're doing, because you can scratch the hell out of your blade. You can ruin the bevel. There's a lot of dangers to using a sharpening system of this. A Whetstone, you're in complete control. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, let me know. If you have a better technique for the Lansky system, make sure to let me know in the comment section, so I can pin it and so other people can see other ways of doing it. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys. I apologize for the lack of uploads. I'm really just trying to publish videos of quality versus before, where I was just publishing videos for the sake of publishing videos. So knives are something I'm really passionate about, specifically Balisongs. So yeah, I have a couple new Balisongs coming in the mail, but they're international, so they haven't been shipping all that well. So maybe expect a knife review from Midnight Cat Studios and a Tropos in the future. I don't know how long that's going to take, but whatever. I appreciate you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button and consider subscribing if you dig what I'm doing. So yeah, as always, thanks again, and I hope to see you next time. Adios.